Here we are again, right back in the same place we've always been. We've got some really interesting stuff today. I'm doing a special, this book right here, The Devil's Delusion by David Berlinski. Guy's great. Talk about David Berlinski and David versus Goliath. The guy is a mathematician and a physicist, and he's talking about the destroying evolution. Of course, evolution was posited by Darwin back in 1861 or so. It's a very, very racist book, is Evolution and the Favored Races. Very racist book, and it's been used to destroy our common law. It's been just used to get rid of our common law, which was based on the Ten Commandments, which I have shown over the years. So I brought out these two things here, the cross and the crescent moon, the difference between the cross and the crescent moon. And the idea that under the cross here, James 1:27, true religion is taking care of widows and orphans. And under Islam, Surah 8:60, true religion is waging jihad and terrorizing the infidels. In other words, waging war to kill men, to create widows and orphans. And the fellow that wrote this book, he did a very good job, The Devil's Delusion, by David Berlinski, and it's great because this is a common battle whenever we go out to college campuses or we deal with attorneys and lawsuits today, which I've been involved in a number of them. The old common law based on the Ten Commandments has been thrown out because Darwinianism believes there's no creation. If there's no creation, there's no God. If there's no God, the Ten Commandments is not the basis of our Constitution. We know in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 10, of the United States Constitution, our common law, James 1:27, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 10, it has to do with the law of nations, and it's basically how to deal with Muslim pirates. You kill them. You don't give them due process. You send the Navy out there to kill them on the seas. Then you release the United States Marine Corps to go onto their land base and kill all of them, too. This is very distressing to a lot of people because they hear love your neighbor and all this other stuff. Well, we've talked about that. My last TV show was all about that. So this idea of common law is this symbiotic relationship between common law, government, and religion. We can see that between the difference of the cross and the crescent moon. The cross being based on James 1:27, true religion is taking care of widows and orphans, or loving people, which was posited by Jesus Christ, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, God himself in the incarnate, who came down and he obeyed the Ten Commandments, and he never got rid of the Ten Commandments, and it's eternal. The Ten Commandments are eternal because it's from God himself. When God gave the Ten Commandments on Mount Sinai, they existed since eternity, whenever God existed. For example, a lot of people will ask, where does evil come from? Well, all right, where does good come from? And we know that God is holy, just, and good. We know that God is eternal. And we know when God existed before he created the heaven and the earth, before he created man, that only good existed. God is eternal. He's infinite from the number line to the negative side of the negative of the number line to the positive side of the number line. He's eternal forever and ever and ever. While there was no heaven and earth, while there was no mankind, there was no evil. Malum and say, evil exists. When did evil begin? Well, in my opinion, and I think I'm right, biblically, in my opinion, when God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, the triune God, created mankind, evil began. Malum and say. There can only be one God. Only God is the only being that is ascetic, never created. That God has always existed from eternity to eternity, from infinite to infinite. Always will exist. Where did he come from? Doesn't matter. He exists. He's always existed. Where did matter come from? Does it matter? Yeah. Where does matter come from? It was created by God. Ex nihilo, by speaking, he created matter. So you can go back to the Big Bang, but that Big Bang posits that there was a beginning. Of course, the big question is, where did the matter come from in the Big Bang? In our theology, which I believe is correct physics and mathematics, in our theology, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. God did it himself. Under the idea of Darwinianism and the Big Bang Theory, it's not in the beginning God created. It was in the beginning you had a big bang. And of course, that demands the question, where did the matter come from? And so if you say it doesn't matter, it does matter. Where did matter come from? It came from God. And I know, I understand, this drives people crazy. Okay. In reading this book here, which I would suggest you go on Amazon.com, buy a used copy. I bought it, including shipping. I think it was $7, including shipping. The Devil's Delusion, Atheism and Its Scientific Pretensions by David Berlinski. Now, it's really interesting because he dedicated this book to his grandfather, who evidently was disappeared or killed during the Holocaust. Very interesting concept. And so he is a secular Jew, he calls himself, I understand. And he's very concerned about the unethical Holocaust, which I agree. And I'm going to show him in a clip after he has waxed eloquent, and I would suggest to you that you just type in David Berlinski, like Berlin, the capital of Germany, add S-K-I, David Berlinski. And his genius is his ability to communicate extraordinarily complex concepts, and he exposes the fallacy of quantum physics, of the landscape, of the multiverse, baloney theories. Does a great job, wonderful job. And then in several of the debates you watch and listen to him, the guy is very good. But in the clip that I'm going to show of him, we see some very dramatic, troubling things in that he is asked a question by the moderator of the debate: would you rather have a Europe that is secular or a Europe that is controlled by Islam? And his answer drove me crazy, astonished me. He basically was non-responsive. He didn't have an answer, and I will show that. And so it comes back again. Okay, well then, it's fine that you can expose Darwinianism, evolution, the physicist myth of the multiverse, of the landscape, of the different alternate universes that don't exist except in the myths that they make up. And where did they come up with these ideas? And he had a real simple explanation, just like the death knell of every republic is foreign money and foreign intrigue. Well, the death knell of all scholarship is the love of money and the love of intrigue. And these people, like the ring wraiths of the Lord of the Rings, have sold their souls for power, getting money so that they can stay in office. And getting that money is more important to them than their own souls. What does it gain a man if he sells his soul to get the world? Then he dies and he stands before Jesus, and Jesus says, hey, I never knew you. Go to hell. Okay, so clip number 2. Clip number 2.
The type of benefits that immigrants receive in Sweden are significant and are all-encompassing, and include housing, food, education, and additional cash.
Classical Islam, kind of like the Aesop's fable with the scorpion and the frog. The scorpion wants to get across a little creek, and so the frog is sitting there, and he says to the frog, hey, will you carry me on your back across the creek so I can go to the other side? The frog, no, you'll kill me, you're a scorpion, don't do that. No, we're not going to do that. So after a while, the scorpion, using subtle language, the 4 Arabic words for lying, taqiya, kitman, maruna, and tariya, lies to the frog and says, hey, take me across, I'll be your friend forever. So finally the frog feels sorry for the scorpion, and he allows the scorpion to get on his back. And as soon as he gets across the water, the water. Boom! The scorpion stings and kills the frog, and the frog says, "Why'd you do that?" And the scorpion says, "Because I'm a scorpion, and that's what scorpions do." What you're seeing there is the same Aesop's fable, the Muslim and the Christian, or the Muslim and the infidel. And that the Muslim will always beg for help, and as soon as he's powerful enough, and he's used the Christian or the infidel to get what he wants, like a scorpion, he'll sting and kill that Christian. Clip number 3. Clip number 3.
En följd av de senaste årtiondenas massinvandring och mångkulturalism. Vi ser samma förändring runt om i Europa i en rad olika länder. Kvinnoförtryck, patriarkala strukturer, hedersmord, slöjor, burkinis, krav på särlagstiftning, skolundervisning som anpassas och skräddarsys för att inte stöta sig med muslimer, sharia-domstolar, djurplågeri. Moskéer som sprider antisemitism och förakt för våra demokratiska.
It's got the anti-Semitism and everything that's going on there, the stuff of World War II, that David Berlinski is so upset, and rightfully so, that his grandfather was killed or disappeared during the Holocaust over there in Germany. He just doesn't like that, and he dedicates this book because he believes, and I think he's right, that Darwinianism, evolution, which was so favored by the Nazis, and that's why they were doing all these horrible experiments trying to speed up evolution, and they were doing it to the Jewish people. They were doing horrible, ugly, evil things, and that gets back into what is horrible, evil, and what is wicked. Oh, okay. Under Christianity, marrying 6-year-old girls and having sex with them when they're 6 years old is horrible. It's criminal punishment, usually represents the moral condemnation of a community. And in the Christian community globally, marrying 6-year-old girls and having sex with them, which Muhammad did, he masturbated between the thighs of the little girl, his wife Aisha. It's a horrible, evil thing. This is considered morally condemnable under Christianity. True religion is taking care of widows and orphans. Under Islam, it's encouraged, it's enjoyed, it's liked. In Islam, they're having a heck of a time with child marriage and with raping little girls and boys. It's horrible. It's part of Surah 860. True religion is waging jihad and terrorizing the infidel, in other words, killing men and creating widows and orphans. And under their Sharia law, based on what did Muhammad do, since Muhammad's wife was 6 years old when he was 55 or so, and he masturbated between her thighs, called thigh-ing, and we have all the proof, evidence, and facts on that, then that is not morally condemnable under Sharia. It's okay. It's encouraged. In the Holocaust, under Sharia, they brought in the Muslims from Kosovo, Albania, and Bosnia, old Yugoslavia, and they hunted down, captured, and they killed the grandfather of David Berlinski. Under Christianity and our 10 Commandments at that time, our Constitution, under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 10, the Law of Nations based on the 10 Commandments, we actually attacked Europe. We attacked the Germans. We said, no, you can't do that to innocent people. And at the end of the war, Harry Truman told our Supreme Court Justice Robert H. Jackson, I want you to go over to Germany. I want you to do the Nuremberg trial based on the 10 Commandments, on Christianity, the rule, the law of nations, the basis of international common law. I want you to try, convict, and hang the Nazis, and I want you to do it because, 1, the Nazis obeyed their civil magistrate, Adolf Hitler. 2, they obeyed their law, the Holocaust. 3, they did not disobey their civil magistrate, Adolf Hitler. And 4, they did not disobey the Holocaust, those laws. So we went over there in accordance with the laws of the 10 Commandments, Romans 13:4, the civil magistrate, the wrath of God, the sword. That's why the Prime Minister is called Minister of God. You will see in a few seconds when I show this clip of David Berlinski, where he has no answer based on Islam and secular rule over in Europe today. Now, the Bible is the basis of our common law that gave us America, the land with the highest degree of peace, order, liberty, and prosperity. As I have said many times, the overarching purpose of education in the West is to transmit the wisdom of our ancestors to every child that we might all live in a land with the highest degree of peace, order, liberty, and prosperity. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there you will find liberty. You will also find peace, order, liberty, and prosperity wherever the bloody banner of Jesus Christ properly goes and creates a government. Romans 13:4. You have the minister of God in the pulpit from the tribe of Levi, and you have the minister of God with a sword, the civil magistrate, to protect the church, to protect the people, and that comes from the tribe of Judah. That comes from Genesis 49:10. It is a proper economical organization of the separation of church and state, but both the church and the state get their authority from God himself, the triune God, and he shows it in his Ten Commandments, and all laws must be made in accordance with the Ten Commandments. That's easy to prove in our political science from Hobbes, from Locke, from Hugo Grotius, the father of international law, who wrote about the law of nations, which is based on the Ten Commandments, and confirmed by two other international lawyers, that would be Pufendorf and Berlinski. I know for most of you today that is confusing. This is part of my life's work to get this out, because I know where the cross is going, and I know where the crescent moon is going, and I know that it's going to end up just like the Crusades. There's no other way we can go. Wherever Islam goes, violence is sure to follow. Malum and say evil does exist. It existed as soon as God made man, because only God himself can be absolutely 100% good. Man is perfect as man, but he is not God. And man will always stumble and fall. If you don't believe it, ask the children of parents, and they will tell you quickly we do, and vice versa. So in this dialogue now that we're doing, I want to bring up this clip now as I set the stage, so that as Islam goes, I predict, I'm not a prophet, I predict that within 50 years, all people of the world who love peace, order, liberty, and prosperity, as opposed to the overarching purpose of education Islam, to send only boys to madrasas to beat them into memorizing the Quran, to turn these jihadists loose to conquer every country of the world, turning them into 7th century Arabian regime under Muhammad, causing the highest degree of hostility, disorder, slavery, poverty, and misogyny. These two cannot coexist. Good cannot exist with evil. Good cannot exist with evil. Jesus cannot exist with Satan. The triune God cannot exist with the evil Satan. Islam is satanic. Within 50 years, the people who love peace, order, liberty, and prosperity, Jesus Christ, will lawfully, in accordance with the Bible, Romans 13:4, defend themselves, and they will destroy all 3,000 of the mosques forward operating bases in the United States. It will be like a time of World War II on steroids. Clip number 15.
Given this choice and no other, would you prefer a secular or an Islamic Europe?
What, my dear sir, makes you think it's a choice right now? Large portions of Europe are already Islamic. I mean, how would I adjust the European continent? I have no opinion. Why should I judge the European continent? As far as I can tell, having conducted a relationship with the Arab community for more than 11 years, I have no objections to Muslims in Europe.
David, do you mind if I breached?
That is one of the most non-responsive and actually cruel responses, and it points out, okay, you're a genius when it comes to math. You're a genius when it comes to destroying Darwinianism. You're a genius when it comes to physics. But axiology, the science of ethics, metaphysics, which this guy talks about, metaphysics is based into 3 different branches. Ontology, the science of being. Cosmology, where did the cosmos come from? Who created it? Why is it here? Where it's going? And then epistemology, which is the science of determining knowledge, the limits and validity of knowledge. You can work with a slide rule and a computer and algorithms and square roots and computers. You can be a genius, but you can't answer a specific, simple, real life question with anything more than, I don't want to judge. Oh, you don't want to judge? You write a book and you dedicate it to your grandfather who was kidnapped, who was brutalized, who was starved, who was tortured, who was killed, and who disappeared, and you're upset about that? And by the way, the guys that did that, Hitler and Bormann, these guys here, they had to go in and they had to recruit people like this guy here, Anwar al-Awlaki, who operated out of San Diego by La Mesa and then Northern Virginia, coordinating the 19 guys flying into the World Trade Center, a believer in the Holocaust, a believer in murdering and killing the Jews. Adolf Hitler, who went to the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, a member of the Muslim Brotherhood, who operates under this paradigm, Surah 860, to wage war, to terrorize the infidel, to create widows and orphans. They did that. They brought the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem in using the Yugoslavian Muslims of today's Kosovo, Albania, and Bosnia to murder and kill the Jews. You have the Nazi Waffen-SS here under the command of the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, used by Adolf Hitler to do horrible, evil things. We have the Grand Mufti here meeting with Adolf Hitler. These pictures are bona fide real pictures. They are not made up. They are not fake news. You have the Grand Mufti surrounded by Muslims whose whole job was to capture and to kill the Jews. And it all goes back to that issue about that symbiotic relation of common law government and religion. When Martin Bormann in the Nuremberg trial was under oath, they asked him why was it that Adolf Hitler wanted to destroy the influence of the church? Why did he capture 400 Protestant pastors and throw them into prison? And Martin Bormann answered, he says, because we knew we could not begin World War II and we could not murder the Jews until we destroyed the influence of the church. You see, the symbiotic relationship between common law, government, and religion. You have the cross, you have the crescent moon. You have the cross, you have the crescent moon. You have the cross, you have the crescent moon. You have government established in Romans 13:4 based on the 10 Commandments, boiled down to the 2 great commandments, to love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and similar to that, to love your neighbor as yourself, or the golden rule, do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. And then you have Sharia law, the law of Islam. True religion is waging war, jihad, and terrorizing infidel, killing men to create widows and orphans, to rape your wife when she doesn't want to have sex, Surah 434. The basis of the common law, the symbiotic relationship between the common law, the law of the land that everybody holds to and adheres to. And you have David Berlinski, who doesn't want to judge. Judge not, lest ye be judged. For by what standard you judge, so shall you be standard. The 10 Commandments shows the will of God, the nature of God, the love of God. Can we comply to the 10 Commandments? No. Be ye perfect, even as your heavenly Father is perfect. The law is a condemnation. If you drive 100 miles an hour in front of a school with children and a sign says 25 miles an hour, that condemns you, but that condemning law is holy, just, and good. It protects little children. Under the law of Islam, it's just the opposite. In the Iraq-Iran war, they used little boys to go out there as human minesweepers, and when their little bodies stepped on the mine, they were blown up and killed, and then the Iraqis or the Iranians could step and stand there. It's interesting, under the cross of Jesus, when we went to Iraq and Afghanistan, the Muslims began grabbing children and women and putting them in front of them as shields because they found out under our common law, we protect widows and orphans. And the soldiers and the Marines didn't want to kill a woman or a child being held by a Muslim soldier. They found that out, and they used that in their tactics and in their strategy. In the war between Iran and Iraq, and 20, 30 years ago with Saddam Hussein and Khomeini of Iran, they never used human shields because the Muslims would just go ahead and shoot them. Show clip number 15 again.
Given this choice and no other, would you prefer a secular or an Islamic Europe?
What, my dear sir, makes you think it's a choice right now? Large portions of Europe are already Islamic. I mean, how would I adjust the European continent? I have no opinion. Why should I judge the European continent? As far as I can tell, having conducted a relationship with the Arab community for more than 11 years, I have no objections to Muslims in Europe.
David, do you mind if I breached?
Objections? Well, I'll give you one right here. This is the logo of the Muslim Brotherhood, who coordinated and controlled the Holocaust, who killed your grandpa, Mr. Berlinski. And at the bottom here, you find Surah 860, which is the Arabic right there. It says 860, which they all know means wage war against the infidel, the Jews and the Christians, and to terrorize them, to create widows and orphans. And you're unable to judge? Well, you know, also the Saudi king is like the spider web of all the cash, and you can see the symbols for cash, the euro, the dollar, the yen, and the pound, and you can see that those who love money more than they love peace clearly fit in with Surah 860 in Islam. But under Christianity, where we do not like this idea of Surah 860, to wage war and go and kill the infidel, to create widows and orphans, we don't like that. And under Romans 13:4, indeed, we can go out. So that in the UK now, you have, that's a Muslim woman teacher in a UK school, and she is teaching Surah 860 to wage war and to terrorize the infidels. It is very sad. This is a publication, Dabiq, which is the Muslim concept of Armageddon. Dabiq is a small town in Syria where the beliefs of the Muslims is that the armies of the Christians will fight the armies of the Muslims, and the Muslims, under the leadership of Jesus Christ, will defeat the Christians once and for all in Dabiq. This is a magazine published in the United States, and as a matter of fact, on page 59, very small for you to see, but on page 59, you will see right here, there's my picture. The Muslims want to kill me. Why do they want to kill me? Because I have this television show and because I tell the truth about Islam, because I pass out flyers door to door comparing Christianity to Islam. I do it because of that, and because I do mock Muhammad as being the buffoon, the fool, the sexual predator, pervert, murderer, necrophiliac, etc., ad infinitum, ad nauseum. They don't like that. They don't like that. So one of the reasons they want to kill me is because I'll close on this song, a song that I wrote in dedication to the difference between Christianity and Islam. Oh, Muhammad, Allah Akbar, you beat the girls all black and blue. You're a wild man, such a madman, oh, Muhammad, it is true. In a cavern without Khadijah, drinking camel Pinot, dwelt Muhammad, dreadful prophet, and his silly old burro. Hee-haw, hee-haw. Hey, so ISIS, you published my picture to kill me 4 years ago. I'm still alive. I'm saying you're a bunch of sissies, screwballs. You're more afraid of me than I am you. And proof of it, I just sang that song again. Come and kill me if you can, only if Jesus allows it. Adios.